Hello, everyone. How are we
Hello.
doing? Welcome to our stream. That still hasn't updated, the stupid thing. That's a starting introduction. That it still hasn't updated. Paul, today's stream is going to be updating Paul's SFCLI because apparently I'm just stuck on an old version and I don't know why.
Amazing how much
Ugh.
mileage you can get out of that. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna again. This week's pivot for the channel will be towards just solving npm package installation problems, and I will make a fortune on it. Most popular channel on the internet. Hey,
there
hi
you
Pete.
go. There you go. So how
How
you
is
doing,
Peter?
Paul? It's been an
Yeah, good.
age.
It has been. I mean, Peter and I caught up on Monday because we realised we'd not spoken for a month, and it's the longest I think since. I was trying to work this out the other day. In fact, as an interesting sidebar, is that I think you're one of the people I've spent the most time chatting to and working with since I kind of started, my find out and something about phase, like a couple of years ago. It'd be 2 years for me in May. So yeah,
Yes.
I,
First of June will be 2 years since I left Salesforce. And I would say the same, but I've had like 3 or 4 clients in that time. And so I talked to a lot of different people. But I'm honored that you spend so much time with me. What can I
I think,
say?
I mean, I have regular calls with clients and things. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people I speak to a lot, but what I'm going to say is I would say that because I think I enjoy these sessions is one of the things I enjoy most out of what we're doing. But yeah, I think that I'd say that you're one of the people I catch up with most regularly in
Yeah.
like a in both a I'm going to say more like a social setting as well. Although we socialize like this over an internet line. For anyone, any spoilers for anyone who's not watched the previous episodes, you've got about another 15 minutes of us figuring out where we are in the world, despite us having just chatted for an hour before we get started.
That's true. And that's true. So yeah, come to think of it, like outside of a work setting where someone's paying me, yeah, I think this is you are the person I talk the most with, outside of like home life, of course, and that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm sort of. I mean, I love the way you say like someone who doesn't pay me. Like that was a brief suggestion. Like, should I be charging Paul to talk to me? Like, do I want to talk to him? Should it?
Yeah, how much would like I'll take a 5% cut. You can send me
Five
that 50p and like, next month.
5% of the zero. Yeah, it's
That's right.
you can have as much of the zero as you want. It's
There you go.
yeah, but it is. It's funny. There's a few people I catch up with you, obviously every 2 weeks, and then in between as well. Chat to Kerry Townsend. She and I catch
Mhm.
up sort of every week. We started doing that during COVID, and it's one of those nice things that we still do, which I always enjoy. It's a nice
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
half hour to
So
catch up with her. So yeah,
so,
but yeah. Sorry, on to like an actual like a
yeah,
thread.
well, no,
Sorry,
so
Been-
we've had all this time.
where
TDX
have
has
we been?
happened. Irish streaming has happened. You went to Irish streaming. I went to TDX. Why don't you give us the lowdown on Irish streaming?
So yeah, so Irish streaming. So hopefully some people have seen. Hopefully the second half of the live stream I did from Dublin a few weeks ago. So Irish streaming was the first of its first event of its kind. In fact, I have the program here on my desk still. Uh,
Awesome.
from the first event of its kind in Ireland, and it went fantastic. It was a really great event. There was about 350 people came along. It was in this nice hotel. Lots of good speakers. Lots of friends that I met up with. So we had some people come from across the pond. So Steve Moe was there,
I saw it. That's
and
awesome. I haven't seen him
yeah,
in so long. He's such a great
it
guy.
was he is. It was what was really funny is that so Steve is one of these people that I bump into very, very infrequently. Like sort of, being in the MVP circle, you kind of bump into these people
Yeah, yeah.
like once or twice in like a every so often because there's hundreds of them. And so he and I were in a couple of taxis together and things like that. And we then went for a drink with some mutual friends. So Emily Todd, who was on are
Nice. Yep.
streaming in December, and Leanne Botwright, who runs I think she runs the Norfolk group,
Norwich.
Norwich. Damn,
Norwich. Yep.
is there much more of Norfolk outside of Norwich? That's
Uh,
Ipswich, I think.
I
I'm
might have struggled to tell you that Norwich was in Norfolk, but
I mean, I think that the two are very closely. It definitely is in Norfolk, and the two are
it's a
very,
Nor place. So,
yeah.
but not
So
Northampton. Different.
no, exactly. So I hung out with them with Steve, and as we were wandering over, it was like sort of we were catching up, saying like Steve was like, "I definitely know you, but what, like, how, where, like, when?" I was like, "Yeah, it's been a while, but no, it was good." And yeah, it was just a great event overall. If you haven't been to Ireland, it's a great reason to go. The place they had it this year was called Dunleary, which is a town just south of Dublin. It's that sort of Zone 60 area for those that are familiar with London, where you're technically in London, but not really. So,
Right. Yeah.
like Brentford, you know what I mean? That sort of distance.
Watford. I was
Yeah,
thinking.
these are really British references. Like, and there'll be people in Brentford and Watford now be like, no, we're in London. Like, there'll be some people very upset with what we said. But
Or like,
no,
so in the same way that, my hometown, Sierra Madre, like I would tell people I'm from LA, but because nobody's ever heard of Sierra Madre. But yeah.
I've only heard of Sierra Madre from a song by Lana Del Rey.
Oh, really? She says something about
Yeah.
Sierra Madre?
Yeah, it's one of my wife's favorite songs. I can't. This is. I hope she's
Okay,
not watching
now
now, so I can't
I'll
remember.
look it
Can't
up
remember the
another
actual
time. I'm really curious that there's any cultural
any
reference
reference.
to the town I
It,
grew up in.
it could be just this reference saying like, "Don't visit the Sierra Madre." Peter Chittum's from there.
Like, how
He's
the hell
left.
did I end up in Sierra Madre? Like, could be boring.
Yeah.
So,
What am I doing here?
yeah.
Yeah. So no, Irish
Excellent.
Beanie, very very good. Excellent event. Definitely worth going. So yeah, and a big congrats to all of the organizers. They did a fantastic job. I was just looking to see if they had a wonderful picture of themselves in here, but they have been
Well, I
far
mean,
too
big shout out to
modest.
Barry Hughes. He's somebody who he's run the developer group there in Dublin for eons. I have to say,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I kind of needled him into like giving that a try like ages ago.
that's good. Well, there you go. So yeah,
I mean,
it
he's
was.
one of
A,
probably like half a dozen people across Europe where somebody, here's what would happen sometimes when I was in developer relations. Somebody would come up to me and say, "Why isn't there a developer group in dot dot
yeah, and
dot?"
you'd be like,
And I'd be like, "Well, start one."
yeah, why don't you start a developer group in dot dot
Yeah,
dot?
I think in Barry's case, I just knew he'd been active in um, the Notes Domino community before he started doing work with Salesforce, and they also have this really active community kind of ethos to them. Like the Notes Domino community feels when you're kind of in the midst of it a lot like the Salesforce community, to be honest. Except it's
For
dead now. So
for any of our viewers who are under the age of 40, Notes and Domino, like Lotus Notes is. I only know Lotus Notes because I worked in an enterprise setting at like 16 and saw
yeah.
like the horror that it was. Yeah, it was Lotus Notes was Excel and Word basically, but like and Access and what was Domino? Domino the Access
Well,
version?
Domino.
This is just
Well,
showing a lot
Domino
of
was their mail
ages.
server. Domino was the mail server.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
go on and sorry about it.
I knew he'd been active and I'd been working with him as an instructor, and I was just like, "Dude, like, you got the chops to do this. Nobody's doing it. Why don't you do something in Dublin?" And I mean, I just kind of poked him a few times and he, to his credit, he stepped up and did it, and he's been doing it ever since. So,
No,
you know,
it was a great community. So they had so yeah, shout out to Barry, Jorgen, Anila, Nishant, Kieran, and am I forgetting? And Eric Proud, who is the only MVP on the island of Ireland, as
wow,
it was
really?
as he was introduced. Yeah, I mean, I believe there were other MVPs
Sure.
on the
Yeah.
island at
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was in a room in the tower. We got to see the Salesforce Tower as well. That was quite
I
cool.
heard, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, tower is doing a lot of lifting in that
Yeah.
word. It's like 4 stories high, 8 stories high, maybe something like that. They've got a beehive up there, like
Like a
hundred
proper
thousand.
beehive?
Yeah, 100,000 bees.
Wow. That's pretty
Although
cool.
what was funny was we and the tour we had, they said 100,000 bees, and then one of the Salesforce team did a little introductory talk, and it dropped to 60,000 bees. And so, like just during that talk, somewhere along the line, and I blame Todd Halfpenny for it because he was on the talk with me. Like 40,000 bees just perished.
Well, maybe they had
Um,
just throttled it down for the moment, like,
yeah, maybe they heard there was such a buzz about them that they thought they'd lower it down. So anyway, how was
uh,
TDX? We'll move on from the buzz joke. That was
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. TDX was great. Uh, or should I call it just Agent Force? Because that was,
Well, I was going to ask, was there any mention of Agent Force there? Because I've heard
uh,
it's this new product
I
Salesforce
mean,
are coming out with.
every single talk mentioned it. And so, you know, I, m- I'd been asked to do a developer write up for TDX by Salesforce
Hmm.
Bend. So I kind of had a mission to get as much useful information for a broad cross section of developers. Um, and so the only sessions I went to were roadmap sessions, which kept me
Hmm.
really busy, and I had to really plan to make sure I fit them all in. And then I went to one which was the one of the engineers and um, one of the product marketing folks from Atlas.
Mm.
Uh, they did a talk through the architecture of Atlas and kind of all the different models that go into it and like its whole evaluation loop. And it was really, really informative. And like it left me with a bunch of questions, but it actually answered a bunch of questions I had too. Mainly like, what is Atlas? Because it's been kind of hard to find a deep dive on that. Although I've not persistently looked, when I did go looking, it wasn't obvious where I could find like a sort of Atlas architecture guide or even
Mm.
like a paper on archive or something like that. Anyway, that was one of my favorite talks, but like all the roadmap talks were good. Like all of the, there's a lot going on in the product, and a lot of that is to go to support Agent Force. But the thing I would say is that the really like smart product owners and product managers, what they're doing is they're looking for, where are there things on my roadmap that I've had on there for years maybe, but now because of Agent Force and this is going to make something better for Agent Force, I can actually clear that. So it's been, there are some enterprising product folks out there that are, you know, uh, in addition to delivering on the Agent Force mandate that clearly is going on at Salesforce, they are, trying to make sure that, like all boats rise in the rising tide, so to speak. So, I want to definitely give, my appreciation to those folks who are working hard in, what I'm sure must be tough circumstances with the kind of focus and drive that seems to be going on inside of Salesforce right now. So that was really good. And then of course, it's just who do you get to see that you haven't gotten to see? And like
Yeah.
that's been, that was probably one of the most satisfying things is, and yeah, I could name a whole bunch of people, but some folks probably don't even know who they are. But to me, the best part about conferences is, meeting new people and then reconnecting with people that you haven't seen in a while and, try to make the most of that. Um, so, and got to see a lot of California. So like
Yeah.
I stayed for about 2 weeks afterwards and, saw family, friends, did a lot of driving. I drove up to Healdsburg, which is like 2 hours north of San Francisco, down to Southern California, and then back up to San Jose. And,
Oh wow.
I love road trips. I love just getting out on the road and, like, going somewhere and kind of seeing what I can see, and, I've driven a lot in that part of California, but
Yeah.
still, it was so much fun to kinda get back on the road and, do that. So, um,
Nice.
but yeah, I mean, the things I would say for people who, if you've not caught up on the TDX um, uh, videos, the keynote's good. Big shout out to the team that puts that together, and the technical part is Stefan Chandler Garcia on the developer relations team. He really drives a lot of that. He's the one who does the demo live as well, and then. So check the keynote out. I think that will give a lot of people an idea of the direction. And there were some things that some people thought were a bit cringy that kind of came out in social media that, feel free to draw your own conclusions from that. Check out the True to the Core session. I didn't think that that used to be recorded, but it was. And I think there were some really useful discussions that went on there. And, the thing I would say to folks that are out there, looking for Salesforce to perform and deliver certain things, when they promise them on that True to the Core session, keep their feet to the fire,
Mm.
like keep bringing it up because there's a lot of internal competing needs inside of Salesforce. And, if they know that it's important when somebody stands up on one of those mics and says something, um, you know, and then I would definitely check out that Atlas talk because I think that being the engine behind Agent Force, and how Agent Force is kind of eating a lot of what's going on in Salesforce right now.
Really? I've not noticed.
Eventually, even if it's in a year or two, eventually you're going to get around to a project where Agent Force is going to be a part of it, and you don't want to be caught flat-footed. So starting to understand what does it mean to have a reasoning engine and an agent engine, like how does that work? If all you've ever done is ask some questions of Chat GPT or um, uh, Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or Gemini,
Yeah.
those are really good practice, but understanding how an agent framework is different from kind of this chat-based interaction, I think is really helpful to understand, like, you know the the goal behind Agent Force is to move beyond just this sort of chatbot experience. That's really, really clear. I don't know how far beyond that we are today, but that's coming. And so kind of making yourself ready for that. Um, Near as I can tell, that's going to be the direction things go in.
I think the move from the chatbot stuff is a really important one. I've said this before, but like one of the things that infuriates me is around a lot of the discussion at the moment is like, oh yeah, like you just chat to it. And I've got a customer I was working with who wanted to have a chatbot that kind of gave them a summary of like all the information around open opportunities on an account. And I'm just like, that's a report. And they're like, yeah, but if you use agent like AI, it's like I'm old enough to remember playing text-based games on a
Yeah.
computer
Oh
screen
yeah.
or
Mhm.
using a text-based computer screen. And if you gave me the option of that or like a modern game with decent, like not just half decent graphics. I'm not on about like photorealistic ray tracing. I know which one is more realistic and like works. And there's good things about both. Don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
I'm just
Mhm.
like, yeah, if we're going back to the point where like everyone just sits with a green screen and a terminal typing in questions to a prompt and getting responses back, then like we've gone wrong. So I think I think MCP is one of the things that I think is really interesting, the kind of model context protocol. That coming out, I think, is going to change a lot of how stuff works together. But I think more importantly, having more guardrails around, because with MCP, what I've been reading is how you can add kind of constraints and requirements around the data going backwards and forwards.
Right.
And I think as a kind of segue to what we might be touching a bit on today, is I think in the same way that like this is going to be a tortured analogy that's just come to me, so buckle in. Um, JavaScript is like kind of a generic kind of LLM engine. It's very powerful. You could write a big book on LLMs, and you could write a little book on the good bits, like you can with JavaScript. But like you can do anything with it, but it's very loose and free. And a banana is a number, and it's a string, and it's an object, and it's whatever you want it to be. TypeScript, I think, is where we see something like the model context protocol coming in, or MCP coming in, where we start to say, okay, great, we're going to use all the power and things we have there, but add some guardrails to it
Right.
to then allow you to say, great, now we know what we're expecting, we know what we're getting back, we know what we're working with. I think when we start to do that, if we can kind of pen in the LLM a little bit, I think we then start seeing some really interesting, like the ability to output graphics. Like, give me a graph, but more importantly, give me a graph where I know the data is accurate. That's
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
my concern with things is that when I was talking to someone about this at Irish Dreaming, and was saying like summarizing an email. Do you know what? If I give if I had an email right here and I said, Pete, summarize it, and I'll summarize it, we'd come up with pretty much the same answer. It would have the same sort of meaning, but we'd have the same answer.
Right.
If I then said, Pete, like go away and write me this bit of code, you and I might write different, as we have seen on this thing, we might write different bits of code. As long as it comes out with the same answer, it's good. But what happens when there's like a disconnect, or what happens when there's biases in things? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've loved watching Grok own Elon on Twitter, just where like people have been asking it. But it's when you build these models, they have implicit biases because they've been trained on the internet's data. And I think that's kind of one of the things where I'm like, okay, if I'm starting to use these things to generate data, I actually want to have a system that generates the data, and these things know where to pass it, rather than I don't want my LLM generating my data for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think the analogy is, I don't think it's as tortured as you say, because you're right. Like JavaScript, if you're looking specifically at sort of the typing system, between JavaScript and TypeScript, yeah, I mean, JavaScript is very fuzzy. You kind of have this ability, it was designed to just kind of be this mushy, mutable, loosely typed system that, you know, if you're going to encounter a type problem, it's probably going to be at runtime unless you have something checking sort of advanced, which of course is the goal that or the purpose, or those are the guardrails that TypeScript puts on. And to extend that a little bit, I think the the guardrails you talk about, like, that's a big part of what the Atlas engine is doing, right?
Hmm.
Is, you know, because there's certain grounding that you can do within the context of a certain LLM call, right? So there's things like few shot prompts, there's RAG, there's fine tuning, and all these things kind of provide a kind of framework that then the response should fit within. But you can also tweak the model to kind of go beyond that, or to be a bit more random than that.
Hmm.
Um, you know, the difference between, invoking a single call to a model in the vein of kind of what we've come to expect from most of the tools right now, that are just purely a large language model, or is different from, uh, I'm going to give a direction and then expect an autonomous or semi-autonomous response. Now, I don't know that Agent Force is quite on the fully autonomous. Like, I've not seen anything that looks fully autonomous to me, but I
Hmm.
think there is some semi-autonomous stuff beginning to happen. And when you get into, you know, a computer that is not being deterministically told what to do, coming up with an autonomous or semi-autonomous task to do, you do want to give it some kind of guardrails so that it doesn't just kind of like come
Yeah,
up with something totally random or way off.
no, for definite. I think that those sets of guardrails are where I think there is the real opportunity of, in the same way with, yeah, I just think that's where the real opportunity for things is I think that um, the machine, and I think what people have to remember, and what people constantly fail to remember about these machines, is that they don't think. They
Mhm.
they don't think. They don't. Yeah, and I'm going to say Atlas doesn't reason. None of these things happen. What it does is what it says is, hey, what's the highest probability answer for me to give? And that's it. And I think that's really kind of got to be front of everyone's mind, is how you tweak it and add those guardrails to make sure that the probability of you getting the right answer is higher and higher. Um,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's the same with it's like with vibe coding. Even when everyone's talking about that, I mean I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that people have produced, but there's
Yeah.
great
Yeah. Yeah.
apps that people have produced. Like people can produce some really clever stuff, but the people that are producing the really clever stuff already have a very detailed understanding of programming. Rather than it being like, hey, I could just go and build something and then suddenly wonder why my API keys are exposed everywhere.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to see if I could find, where is it? Some of my notes on this. There we go. Atlas Reasoning Engine. Yeah, like the thing that I found that was so impressive was like they have something like um 4 or 5 different models that go into what they're calling the Atlas reasoning loop, right? So there's like, embeddings kind of just like everyone else. There's sort of this re-ranker model. There's something they call a large action model. Um, so basically it kind of goes through this process of planning, tool selection, evaluation, and
Mm.
feedback. And at each one of those stages, there are these different models. And the thing that impressed me is just how small the models are. We're used to models being, in the tens or hundreds of billions, you know, but because Atlas is so specific, um, to what Salesforce is doing, they've essentially just been able to distill those down and to have them be much smaller and therefore faster and more performant and more affordable. So to me, like that was like, if it helps to have a little bit of ground knowledge on
Mm.
how large language models work and how I would say just generally machine learning and machine learning based AI works. But you can still go and watch it and get a really good sense for
Yeah.
what they've built, as far as the engine behind all of that. So and of course everything with Salesforce, then there's also the multi-tenant relationship on top of that. And like one thing they didn't address is like how it fits in the multi-tenant model or the typical multi-tenant model. So there's a whole bunch of questions
Mm.
I have about that. But no, it's really good. And it's always great to hear the people who've built the thing,
Yeah, it's all
who are
right.
closest to building the thing, come and share about what the thing is. And that's, as if to me, like that's the best part of TDX, apart from the people.
Of course, of course. There's yeah, and there's a load. I mean, there's so many interesting things that can go around it. One of the things you just said that I think I was talking to someone about the other day is one of my one of Paul's current soapboxes is how AI has now come to just mean generative AI.
Hmm.
Like if I
Hmm.
say AI to you, most people think Chat GPT. Whereas when you just said about machine learning models,
Yeah.
I'm actually working on a bit of a project piece at a moment where we're going to be building a machine learning model for doing some clustering. And is it
Ooh,
the most
clustering
clever machine?
algorithms.
Yeah,
Yay.
and like they are not as cool and as sexy as they once were, but like it's going to really give this business a bunch of interesting information and analysis that they can do. But it's like that's, and I was talking to the person. I was like, "Oh, this is AI," and they're like, "No, but it's not. This isn't doing." And I was like, "No, it is AI. Trust me, it's AI. Like it's machine learning, which is part of AI." And they're like, "But it's not using Chat GPT." I'm like, "No, not every AI thing's Chat GPT. Like
Yeah.
it's just." So yes.
Well,
Anyway,
people who are like, the champions of symbolic AI, before machine learning would say that machine learning is a AI too.
oh yeah,
So,
I mean like this whole.
you know,
I read
it all just gets a
there's a
bit too dogmatic, It's just a marketing term, right?
yeah for those interested by the way, there's a really good book out called how I think it's called How AI Ate the World.
Ooh, that sounds
Uh,
good.
it's by a journalist and author called Chris Stokell Walker. Let me just check. He has written a bunch of very interesting books. I'm sure it's. So he's written a book called YouTubers about how YouTube changed the world, changed things. Oh, he's written one on TikTok. I'm sure it's How AI Ate the World. Yeah. Yes. How AI Ate the World, A Brief History of Artificial Intelligence by Chris Stokell Walker. And it's a really interesting book. Definitely worth getting. It's from a small British publisher as well called Canterbury Press, who are fantastic and publish just smart books. Oh, we've lost Pete. Well, for those anyway, for everyone else listening, yeah, it's a really interesting book. Definitely worth having a look at. Welcome back.
Sorry.
Sorry. I was just saying it's a really interesting book because it one of the things it covers is kind of the history of AI and what was meant by AI over different periods, but it
Right.
also talks about the environmental cost of things at the moment. So,
Mm.
not to put a downer on things for people, but every time you run a Chat GPT prompt, you effectively pour half a liter of water into the floor. It's just
Wow.
like it. The amount of water and energy these things use is unbelievable, and that to me is also one of those things that, like, I've spoken about this before, where, like, at the moment, what's OpenAI's revenue and what's their profit? Like, you can't keep on running companies that don't make money. I mean, you can, but like,
Well,
but like, what
Silicon
you
Valley
actually,
has a history of that.
yeah, but what I more mean by that is that, like, this is one of those things where, yeah, I to lose $5 billion this year. Like,
Yeah.
if my company's lost £10, they'd be out of business this year, let alone like 5 billion. You know,
Yeah.
I just I have this thing where I'm just like, I don't know. I suppose I expect, if you are burning that much money and you're planning on it being a utility, then I don't know. I just don't know where you can keep on finding billions and billions of that size to spend without having to come to a reckoning with that kind of environmental cost and things like that.
Well, I mean, I think that's, yeah, I agree. Like we will need to have a reckoning, and there will need to be a way of doing that. But that's, that's part of the reason why Sam Altman and a bunch of those people are also like trying to invest in fusion, and
Mm,
so definitely there's going to be a lot more to that story before it's over. So yeah.
mm. So, should we actually talk about some Salesforce stuff and what we're planning on doing?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
I
so. I
mean, it's
think
only 32 minutes in,
yeah.
so we're on time. So, as it has been a month, basically, I think, since we last streamed, let's just bring everyone up to speed about what we were planning on doing. So, Peter and I had been discussing building a plugin, and what we're going to do is build a plugin for the Salesforce CLI that allows you to create Lightning apps. And as we started discussing that, and Pete, please keep me honest here, as we started discussing that, one of the things we realized is there's a bunch of other infrastructure we're going to need. So, a good example is we can create a Lightning app, but we're going to also then need to be able to create a permission set so that you can view the app. We're going to need to be able to create um, add the app to the app menu so that it shows up there. We're going to need to be able to create or to add pieces of metadata to the permission set. We're going to
Yep.
need to be able to create a Lightning record page and an object and all of these things. Now, some of them Salesforce provide for us in the CLI already, but others we're going to need to kind of build up as we go and build on there.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so that's kind of the aim and intention of this is, we sort of demoed last time the classic create app kind of button, the magic
Yeah.
button.
You want to hear a funny story about that?
Go on,
I
you tell
shared
that.
that
I'm going to
that's what
just
we
stand
were
up.
doing, and somebody was just like, "Oh my god, I have so many horrible apps in my org because of that button." So I think as we progress, we should do some checking with some admins in the know to make sure that we don't recreate a sort of nuclear, too many apps scenario for people.
Well, I mean, what's quite an interesting thing I was thinking about with this earlier on is, number one, I think this is a developer-centric tool with it being the CLI. I know that admins
Yep.
can use the CLI, but it's still fairly developer-centric. And number two was also the thought around, well, if we are doing it via the CLI, so I do think it's mainly going to be developers kind of knocking things out through this, and us providing really, if I'm being frank, I think a lot of the utility ones will be used more than the actual create app, because I think creating an
Hmm.
app is not something that's done very regularly. But adding
Yeah.
something to the
Yeah.
permission set, yeah. Um, but the other thing I was thinking is with my thoughts a minute ago on kind of MCP and stuff is, are we building a little API here that then allows us to start doing more clever things to build out Salesforce apps?
I like it.
Yeah, so that's a twist we could take later on, is if we wanted to, is try and build out some sort of more local model that kind of generates bits and pieces in a better fashion.
That sounds good. Give me 1 second. I'm being loomed over by a family member.
There you go for that. So while Pete's looming, so that was that was what we started last week. Again, just thank you for everyone who's dialed in and watching right now. I say dialed in. Thank you for everyone who is watching and joining us right now. And again, just let us know where you're watching from. I think me using the phrase dialed in shows my age, as I still think people are dialing in manually to this sort of thing, whereas they're streaming in. What's the correct term for joining a live stream? It's not dialing in, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
It dawned on me a minute ago when I typed that. I was like, no one's dialed anything for about 20 years, Paul. It's you and
I'm sure if we gave ourselves 5 minutes, we could come up with 2 or 3 examples of like common phrases we use that have to do with like horses and carriages too. So,
oh yeah,
like...
I think if we gave ourselves 20 minutes, we'd start a little dictionary. So that was where we were. One of the things we'd love to hear people's thoughts on is a name for this, because Peter and I have been throwing around various different names for this plugin. Now, the plugin's name will never see the light of day other than on when you install it or on like the repo. So let's be clear, we are talking about things that quite frankly don't matter. But I think, there's 2 hard problems in computer science, and one of them is naming things, and the other one is off by 1 errors. So we want to come up with a decent name.
Is there not a third one? Cache invalidation?
Oh, there is. Cache in... Sorry.
I thought cache invalidation was one of those. So.
I thought, and I think mine was the terrible joke one, though. It is 2 hard things.
This is beginning to be like the Spanish Inquisition sketch, those.
Yeah, cache. There are 2 hard problems in computer science: cache invalidation, naming things, and off by 1 errors. There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to do that. So I think today the intention for this episode is to talk a little bit through the repo as it stands, talk through some of the basic tickets we have in there, because Peter and I are going to try and actually run this properly and manage it with some very basic project management, and just actually writing down what we're planning on doing so that we don't forget every 2 weeks. And just get started. I think, so in fact, let me share my screen and let me talk through what I think would be a good little target for us today.
Yeah, sounds good.
So,
do you want, and when you get a chance, shoot the session over to me.
I should do that. Let me just do that first, because otherwise we can't have nice things. I'll do that in a minute once we've created the file on repo. So,
but yeah, agreed. We don't want 20 people joining the live coding session. So
we do not. Can't have nice things because of the internet. Cool. So the initial name we have is Afterburner. We are happy with other name suggestions. We have thought of Thor, but there's a million tools called Thor.
I like Towel. The more it's sort of odd, and it's just 1 word, and it's a simple word. So
yeah, but do you know what I was saying about like a broader thing for Towel though? I think Towel's a great one, but I just think it needs to be.
Yeah.
It needs to be something more Hitchhiker-y, as in having a big library that is your ultimate guide. We should just call this. Couldn't come up with a name. Insert name here. Install plugin. Insert name here. So what we're going to do, we've got a couple of issues on here that we've created already. So these are some of the requirements we spoke about last time. So creating a Lightning app, and then got some little to-do items on there. We've got creating. So once we create a Lightning app, we want to create permission set. We want to be able to add some metadata permission set, and we want to create a list view. So those are kind of like some of the things we're starting to think about. We want to then sort of plug it, and we can update these to add in actually, a bit more detail as we go. what I think we want to do today as a good start is I think we can probably bite off creating a permission set, because I think the permission set metadata is pretty simple. The XML for a basic permission set, I think, is I haven't looked yet, but let's just say it's 10 lines long.
Right.
And so we can go from that. So if that sounds like an idea, I say we kind of run for that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So I'm gonna bring my terminal up and I'm gonna make it bigger. Let's just get rid of that, and I'm gonna zoom in, and I'm gonna just irritate Pete by having no terminal theme on there, because I know you don't like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to generate a plugin. So I'm going to first of all go in here, and the command is sfdev generate plugin.
So you're not showing that right now, just so you know.
Ah, that is good to know. It's because I'm not showing the entire screen. Voila. So, first question, is that clear enough, or does it need to be bigger?
No, I would make it just maybe one tick higher than that, size-wise. That's probably a little better.
So first question, am I building for an internal Salesforce team? No.
This is almost always no.
Yeah.
Unless you work for Salesforce.
They are not paying or sponsoring us. So let's call it Afterburner and a tool to help you
I love the word robust here. It really makes you want to shoot high, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or for the plugin.
I'm not sure if that's robust enough, Paul.
It never is. What percentage of code coverage do we want to enforce? This is an interesting one.
I really struggle with them asking me this early on. Like, I'm not really inclined to commit to a high code coverage amount early on in a project, but
I'd like us to think about doing some testing on this.
I think that's a great idea. I'm not saying mine is the right way. I'm just sharing my own hesitations. So
let's go for like a 50, and I'm assuming we can change this anyway.
Yeah,
should we? Yeah, let's knock it to 0 and then let's enforce later on. Cool. Oh, that's interesting. So I was expecting this to create it in a different location, because I'm in my. No, I've not moved into my correct location, I don't think. Oh, I'm a moron. I can move this. Cool.
What's that? So were you expecting for it to create another folder?
I quit and restarted the terminal where I was updating the CLI and failing to update it, and so I'd forgot to go back into my workspaces directory. So we get to see.
I see.
Is it MV to move? Yeah.
Yeah. MV.
MV Afterburner, and then we want to go to /workspaces. Is that going to work?
I would do /dot at the end of workspaces. /workspaces /dot. That's just
no. Let's move. This is one of those things where I know I can just do this with like Finder, but I'm refusing to. Move source ... directory.
Is workspace so? Oh yeah, because you have to do ... /workspaces, right? So no, never mind. Which directory are you in?
I'm in. I'm in my directory here. So,
dude, PWD, print working directory.
Yeah. So I'm in /pullback.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And workspaces.
I want to be in literally underneath it.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was right. That should have been right. No. So no, that wasn't wrong. You don't need the / before workspaces. Just workspaces. You're trying to put workspaces in root.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. Wait, there we go. Cool. Right, we're there. So we can now. So I've already got the repo. So I'm gonna init this as a repository. Or yeah, I need to init this as a repository, and then I want to add the remote quickly because then I can pull the changes before we get all out of sync.
Yay.
Bingo. Git pull origin. Cool. There we go, and we have everything in there. Cool.
Lovely.
Do we have a dot git ignore? Yes, so we do. So I'm going to do git hyphen all git commit hyphen m initial commit of plugin after generate command. Whee! Don't know why that did a bunch of stuff. That's cool.
Oh, is it? It's
Interesting.
like linting the README or something, isn't it?
Oh, 1 minute. Yeah. Subject may not be empty. Type may not be empty. Oh, commit lint. Oh, God. Right.
Yeah, I ran into this before creating a plugin where it was like, come on.
I'm just going to stop sharing so I can give Pete the link a second for.
Yeah.
Right. So there's the link for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's zoom in this and let's reshare my screen. Commit lint. There we go.
All right, I'm in. There must be an easy way to just ignore that, like
I mean, assumedly,
for
if
an
I
initial
delete
commit,
it,
you know?
yeah. I've never come across commit lint before. Very interesting. Isn't it funny all the things you learn as you're going?
Always.
All right, well, let's do this way then. So if I do it here, and so base files generated by what are your errors now? Subject may not be empty, type may not be empty. How do I add a subject and a type in my commit then? Or how do I turn that off?
God, I did this at one point.
See if there's anywhere else we can. Joe, what we could just do is where is the
I had to do this when I submitted a commit to the CLI. I'm remembering. And I forget now because it's like the only time I've had to do it. But it's like yeah, it's like a commit standard thing.
yeah.
wonder if I can find the command when I ran it. So if I do history pipe to grep git commit. See if I can see all. Oops. Help if I spelled history right.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything in here where I can just remove it. Yeah, unlock file, commit message. Oh, I love it when we get unexpected surprises like this.
Okay. First command after getting basics. Is that it? So try for your commit message. Here, I'll copy it into the. So like there's different types where there's like feature and bug and that kind of thing. And I think I see an example where I use that. I'll send it to you on the private chat. So
oh, I think it literally just needs a new line is what it might be saying. No, can't be right because we had a new line a minute ago. I'm just looking at a Stack Overflow message here where it's saying that.
Yeah, so architecture, security license, code owners, change log.
Yeah, it's just double -m. So I think, right, if I just try this, for example, then.
So did you see the thing I sent you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it
didn't work?
It didn't. Yeah. So I'm reading something else that said you needed 2 messages in there because this one, but this is still saying subject and type. So if I try that, like what you've got there.
Mm-hmm.
So is that so? This message here, if I blank that out, put in.
No, so the types are fixed. Like there's only a certain number of types you can use. So you need that FEAT.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
That's the type.
So
Yeah, and then the message, the description is whatever else you want after the colon, I think.
okay. Does that deal with the title still? Or, all right, so let's just add this then. So if we go for.
Just try that.
Nope. Subject must not be sentence case start. So
yeah. So take away the capitalization there. I know it's ridiculous.
Oh my life! This is so stupid.
I wasn't particularly fond of it when I discovered it either, but like I forget where I found like the information about commitlint and like it had some justification for it and I was just like whatever. I just want to get my pull request like in.
Yeah, I'm yanking this thing out now. Like I'm going to spend 2 seconds just removing this absolute nonsense. Where is it in here? Compile. A minute, I had it searched for here. So it's in the yarn lock file, of course. It's in the commit message. Like, where is this stupidity being?
This is actually really
Disable.
good. Like understanding how to remove something from a project that, where you're sort of inheriting the scaffolding like they do, and just to not have to want to deal with it. I mean, that's something I struggle with. I always feel like I'm going to pull out the wrong thread and blow everything up.
npm uninstall. So I think what we want to do is 1 second. There we go. Of course, is npm uninstall. I think commit lint. You mean added 3 dependencies? Surely you've got to do the opposite of.
Oh, that's weird.
All right. Let's leave this. This is a problem I can deal with later. To go away and just remove all of this absolute.
All you need to do is just put a little thing at the beginning with the colon, Paul, and it's all fine.
Yeah, but so the reason I'm against that, right, is if I do git push origin now, right? So this, I don't need like this stuff like it's behind its remote. It's not behind its remote counterpart. Possible remote, but do not specify. You have just divergent branches. Yep. So I want to do git pull rebase false. I think. Oh, I hate git.
I never get rebase right. So.
Git pull rebase. I think. What do you mean? So I'm just going to revert this. I don't know what that change is. Let's just remove that for now. Okay, cool. We've got conflicts. I can deal with conflicts. There's the conflict. Great. We just do this. And we do that. Great. There shouldn't be any more conflicts in there, I don't think. Nope. Because I don't know what these flag. When you're saying about these flags are, merge of. So, just go away. What's up? It's not behind its remote. Then why is it whinging? an hour in, and we've so far managed to run one command and have Git not run for us. Oh, like this is just so stupid. Do you know what I'm going to do? In fact,
what branch are you on?
main.
Oh, you're still in rebasing.
Yeah. No branch, rebasing main. No commands remaining. Interactive rebase, pick. Right, git commit hyphen hyphen amend, or git rebase. Git rebase hyphen hyphen continue. Continue. Okay. Are we just fine now? Okay, let's try this one. Oh, good. Right. So,
Damn. Okay.
honestly, like, but I think my annoyance is going to be looking at this. Like, yeah, we've got to have this feet thing there, which just adds nothing to it. Like, there's no
I mean,
benefit of this.
my guess is that because they're trying to have this be open source, like, or it's in some internal like Salesforce standard. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's like built into the scaffolding of like someone else creating their own plugin,
Yeah, that's
does it
just
have to be
ridiculous.
there? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna see if we can remove some of these. Or see if we can just remove that. Anyway, we have our basic project set up. Yay! It only took us 30 minutes to get to this point. So, the reason we have this then is, yeah, see, look, it's got chore there as some others. Like, but it doesn't give any information about this. Absolutely daft. Right. So this is our basic setup. And I think it looks okay. We can start, so we can see here how we would add it. We can also see here how we would build and run things if we want to run it in dev.
Yeah.
So if we just do that real quick, I'm just going to do it in a separate terminal. Save me opening up the other one. So if we do /bin/dev hello world. Oh, hello. No such file or directory bin dev. There is. It's right there. Do we need to build it first? Oh, probably yeah. Yarn and yarn. I bet that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nope, no such file or directory /bin. Yeah, bin definitely exists. Okay, why would that not work? Can we think of why?
I don't see bin. I wonder why that is.
Definitely there.
Let's see. I'm only seeing some of the.
I wonder if it needs to be.
Oh, I think I know why.
Go on.
Well, why I can't see it is. There we go.
Oh, there you go. Got a bunch of errors. That's not helpful, but it actually found the file. So why is it not seeing that? So you can't see bin then, you're saying?
Yeah, I think there's sort of a trusted workspace problem.
Oh, okay. Can I give you more trust?
Configure your settings. No, go ahead. I'll sort this out. If I need
So
something.
yarn and yarn build. So yeah, it's for some reason it's just not running. So why is the question? Right, come on, Pete. Why can it not see bin.dev?
Yeah, it's interesting. Why is that? That's
To run the commands from the top level directory, proceed the commands with. Let me just try that. Oh, there you go. Not dot slash, just.
Oh,
Oh, that's good, Salesforce. There we go. And that's saved. I'm not doing that commit message. So cool. All right. So we have a function that returns hello and world. Wonderful. Aren't we absolutely amazing? So I think
I
what we
built
want
one of
to.
those before too.
Yeah. Absolutely mad. So I think what we want to do is start to look at our basic commands. So I'm going to switch over a second.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pause sharing one moment so that you don't all see all of my many customer orgs that are attached to code.
I would not that.
Sandbox. They would not like that. Awesome. All right, so we are here in. Yeah, cool. This is perfect. So we're here in the Sandbox sessions 1. Okay, and so in this one, we do have a permission set. Now we have a few things in here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to open our default org. And just for absolute hilarity, I'm going to create a permission set. And then what we're going to do is pull it down and let's just see what the most basic set of data is.
Yep, sounds good.
Makes sense, I think. Is the org going to open? Open default org failed to run. And is that literally your update? Is it you're telling me there's an update on the Salesforce CLI? What?
Oh, because it's a really old version. 2.72.21.
Yeah, but it's been working fine for like everything. I mean, I was literally using it this morning to push stuff and open an org. So, 1 minute. It's a scratch org. Whoops. Let's remember to cut that out. What time are we? 108. Need to tweak that and remove that, as it had some org names in there. So let me just do this quickly and find. Didn't we have a Sandbox session thingy though? We had a there you go, Sandbox sessions there. Cool. Yeah, we were. That was a scratch org I was in, so that's why. So let me just do that again in the correct one. There we go. Right. Here we go, people. We might actually be back in some semblance of in control of what is going on. It might last all of 5 minutes as well, but we might be back there. Right. 5 minutes is a long estimate as well for this. Honestly. Right. So we're in an org. We go to permission sets. In the background, Pete, do you want to be thinking about what XML generator we're going to use?
Ooh. Interesting.
Um,
So
because,
presumably some node based.
yeah. Right, so we have our demo permission set, and if I go back over here, for anyone who's watching and thinks, hey, Paul, you could do that through the command line, I could do that. I just always do it this way because I find it quicker. Great, so here is our very basic permission set. So the things we know we have are a name, a label, a description, and whether it needs activation required. So 6 lines is our basic setup for our permission set. So this one we should be able to generate not too badly if we can find a decent way of generating things. So yeah, what I'm thinking is let's come up with the name for our command we're going to do. So
This is going to
the
be to
way,
create the permission set, right?
yes. So I think what we have is if I do here, if I go back to sfdev generate command help, I think. So it'll give us, other than warning me about my upgrade again. So yeah, every time I try and upgrade the CLI though, it just doesn't upgrade. If I do that, doesn't do anything. Just says not updatable, which is like, well, that's cool.
That's really weird.
If I run the npm command there, it says it updated it dead quickly. Still says not updatable. If I run this again, it will just say it's still on the old version. So yeah, weird. Anyway, so what we can have here is we can give it a name. So the name of the new command, and we have the topic and the command names. Okay. We can then add a dry run, overwrite any existing files. We can create a unit test, so an NUT unit test or another unit test for it. We can do this. The command generates basic source files, messages, and test files for your new command. Okay, so it could be my exciting command. So if we wanted this to be my exciting command here. So the breakdown here, though, which I think is important for people to understand, is the breakdown from my exciting and command. So the way that Salesforce says these things should happen is you have SF and then it is topic, action, and then resource. So, or sub-action. Okay, and so the topic is going to be whatever we want it to be, such as generate or something like that. The action, well, the topic is going to be whatever we want the topic to be. The action is probably going to be generate, and then the resource is going to be permission set. So what I'm thinking we want to do here, Peter, is come up with a good topic name. So, for example, Salesforce has SF org login web allows us to use the org topic, the login action, and the web resource or sub action.
And to I wanted to also look at, so I just ran SF to see like what are the topics that, are, that exist already. And it's things like alias, analytics, Apex, API, CMDT for custom metadata type, community config data. There's a legacy force one for the legacy commands for backwards compatibility, lightning org package one, schema
See.
s object, right? So those kind of high level, like what's the category of thing? And I almost
So
wonder
just
because like
so I'm just
yeah,
going to show here for people what the I don't know if you can see my screen still, but what the generate command is doing, because there is already a generate topic.
yep.
Because we could use generate. We've got hardest as well. You can see I've got a bunch of ones on there. So yeah,
I
sorry,
see.
Pete. Please.
Yeah, so what I'm wondering is should we have like two broad topics for this tool that we, one that is like the incremental, the let's call them the nuclear um no, atomic, that's a better word. The sort of atomic single commands that we want. And then another topic that is the kind of, the equivalent of the create an app
Great.
button.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds like a plan. So for these nuclear commands, then, or atomic commands, what do we want to call them? Because
That's
I
a good
wonder if
question.
it's that's why I'm paid the
Yeah.
big bucks.
Yeah, that's right.
Because what I'm looking at here is we've not got so you've not got there's no build command.
Yeah.
Now build is a loaded word. Do we want to use
Yeah.
build?
Yeah.
There's no create. We could do create. There's no make. We could do make. I'm just thinking. What I'm thinking here is for these atomic commands,
Hmm.
is the topic really generating or building something, or is it something else? There's no metadata command either, actually, out of interest.
Oh, interesting.
So I do wonder whether metadata is the right one, because it's what we're doing is we could do SF metadata. So like if I just go back here, so for this example here, we've got SF topic, action resource, sub action. Metadata could be the topic, as we are working with metadata. The
Hmm.
action would be create, and then the resource would be permission set.
So you have the hardest like plugin installed,
I do have the hardest plugin installed as well. Yeah,
and that's basically their topic is they've just said hardest.
yeah, and like I get that they've done that. I mean, TechSay also have theirs down there. That's just TechSay.
Right.
So we could just do that. We could just go Afterburner, but I feel like
Wasn't necessarily
Afterburner.
going to be our final. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I like the idea of this kind of just slotting in without anyone knowing too much that it's there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I always kind of liked the, you know, like I always had this thought that, so going back to Java and Java packaging, like, the core Java features live in the Java package, and then there's like the Java extended package, JAVAX.
Hmm.
And so like, I don't know if there's a way of like taking like meta and like putting an X on the end as an extended,
Okay,
but
so like
because that way
SF,
it's sort of unique, not everybody's going to be, it would be harder for somebody to accidentally put
would
that
we go
topic
for?
in.
What about MDX for metadata X? Because I feel
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
metadata X is quite a long.
Well, no, I was going to do meta X, METAX, which looks like metax, but
Yeah.
like,
Well, I also
but
think that there's probably.
MDX is fine with me too. MDX is good.
All right, cool. So we'll go MDX. So what we're going to do is we're going to do. Where is the generating stuff? So we're going to do JSF sfdev generate command. Bomb, bomb, bomb. So come on, sfdev generate command, and if I believe, where's it got this? So I'm just looking at the instructions because there was a really useful document and it's not actually got it in there. Where's that gone? When you're looking at something like, oh, that's exactly the thing I want, and then 2 minutes later you've lost it.
Oh yeah, happens all the time. It's called being over 50.
I think, Joe, I might have just run it. In fact, that was it. Look, it's what I'm looking for is this, just to show people. So,
Did you know that
we
if you do -H, you get less help versus if you do --help?
I did not know that. I knew you could do -H. I just always type a lot of these things in the verbose format, just to
I
be
didn't
clear
think
for
I never
people.
knew there was a difference. I read
I
that. I've
didn't
not
know.
tried it, but like
There you go. Yeah, it
it's much more
is.
succinct. I thought they were
Yeah,
the same.
well, there you go. So this is effectively it down here. So what we're going to do is sf dev generate command hyphen hyphen name, and we're going to call it mdx, and then we're going to call it create, as that is the action, and then we'll call it permission set, which I think works.
Sure. I might have used perm set, but that's fine.
Now you say that.
Yeah. I had thought it before. I didn't care that much. So just throwing that, interjecting. I'm trying to
Cool.
fill
All
the
right.
blank space of watching a command line actually do its work. So
Yeah, that's fair. Right, so I'm just going to code dot. So we got this open. Right, so this is back in here. Whoa, that's way too big. And we now have a new set of messages. So mdx create permission set. So we've got our summary, our
I'm no longer on
flags.
the session, by the way. I got booted when you were
Yeah, I
going back
noticed.
and forth,
Sorry,
which
one
is fine.
sec.
Whenever.
Yeah, let me just do that now before I forget. There you go. So yeah, so we now have our description there we can work with, and under our commands we have mdx and we have create as a subfolder, and then we have permission set. And so here we have all of our stuff running. So you see we've got our flags, we've got anything else we want in there. And yeah, it gives us some interesting and useful bits and pieces. So we have a command, and if I go to bin dev, what's this going to put out? Name, which is flags name. So if I do, is that the only flag it's got? Doesn't actually list out the flag on there, but yeah. So you can see here, so for people looking as to where it's got the name, you got summary flags.name.summary, you've got description of flags.name.description. That's where it gets the information from. It's a name flag here, and it does have a character of n. So if I run bin/dev, and it'd be mdx create permission set /n, and we'll call this permission set new app. Why is it now doing this again? It did this fine a second ago. Why? Do you remember I had this exact same issue like 2 minutes ago where it's not
Yeah.
finding bin dev?
But yeah.
Was that it? Yeah, bin dev.js. Oh, all right. No such file order. Come on, stop messing me around now. There we go. Right. Hello, new app from source commands create permission set. Ta-da! 1 hour and 23 minutes to get it to say hello from the same thing with a new command.
Technically, we nattered on for like 30 minutes. So
okay, cool. Yeah, so only 15 minutes. We're basically 10x coders now.
yeah, there
right.
we go.
So have you had any thoughts around XML, Peter?
So I did a little checking, and as is the way these days, I used Perplexity. The first thing I asked was, what are the best Node.js XML libraries? And so it gave me a load of those, performance leaders, feature-rich options, lightweight choices. But one of the things that I'm cognizant of is that, it can be advantageous to add fewer dependencies to your project. And so then I said, okay, take these and re-rank them with lowest dependencies first. And it came up with two. One is something called Parse XML by somebody called R. Grove, and another one called Fast XML Parser. So we could go and look those two up and see like which ones we like as far as, in the npm registry, like
So what are they called?
which one
Sorry.
had more stars, more downloads, installs, and I would just say either one of those looks like it probably meets our needs. There are some XML parsers that have more advanced options or work for larger size XML. I don't know if we're going to need that with what we're going to do yet or not. So I think let's just start with one of these
Yeah.
sort of easy to use ones, and then we can always swap it out if we have to later.
Sounds good. So what were the two it suggested?
Yeah, so the first one, and actually so this parse XML one, where did it fall on the Yeah, so these are both like the performance leaders. So fast-xml-parser is one package.
That one.
That's the one.
Beautiful.
And then the other one is called Parse XML by @rgrove. So
This
it's
one.
@rgrove/parse XML.
That one.
Yeah, that's the one.
So cool. All right. 95,000 weekly downloads and 30 million weekly downloads.
Yeah. So
Wow.
like either one is, I'm sure, just fine. We can just probably go with this one since it looks like one that other people would be really familiar with. And like I said, both of these, zero additional dependencies, which, just kind of makes your project less fragile and less dependent on an LPAD incident.
Yes. Oh, yes.
No rug pulls.
Yeah, we
Actually,
do
is
not
that
need
technically a rug pull? Rug pull is when you change your open source license after
Yeah.
you've built up a following. So I think I'm using that term incorrectly there. But anyway.
Build XML from a JS object. There we go. That's probably what we want to be doing. So this looks good. All right. So we want to add this in. Just checking to see if there's any other interesting notes on there. That's cool. Text to chart.
I haven't checked licenses, and that's, it's so MIT license, I think, is one of the more open ones. But for people who are watching this, if you're, kind of first time using dependencies like this from like Node or, I've actually learned it's not pronounced PyPy. I think it's called PyPI. So the Python package.
Oh. Yeah, if you are using open source
or
like these
Maven
days,
or whatever, yeah, any open source library you're going to use, make sure you're using one with a license that allows you to use it the way you want to use it. That's all.
Boom, done. All right, so we have fast XML installed. So that's good. So I've driven enough, so I'm going to let Peter do some driving because this is far more interesting. So what do we want to do? What I'm going to do, Pete, first of all, just to assist, is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to copy this into down here. There you go. So we now have our
cool
XML permission set. So I'm just going to sit back down one moment. Can you hear the whirring, or is that irritating?
No, I don't hear it on our end. So
cool.
We're all good.
Well done, noise cancellation. So the thing I think we're going to want to do then is add in some flags. So the flags we're going to need to have are a name, a label, a description, and if the activation is required.
All right.
Which will be somewhere around here.
Now, there is a command that's called generate flag.
Oh.
And so, now, do I have access to your terminal? Host entered live share terminal, entered your type. I need to request read write access.
Go for it.
Okay.
Now, is the generate flag going to create it for every one, or is it just going to do it for that one? Do you see what
So
I mean?
that's a good question. And so I can use your terminal, but it doesn't actually show up on your screen. So I think I should probably
If I
share
do,
my screen.
well, if I do that, try again. Does it
Uh,
show up or not?
uh,
Yeah, there you go.
okay,
We
there
can
we go.
see that.
Cool. Yeah, SF dev generate. Oh, you don't have autocomplete, or is it just not working for me?
I don't think it works.
Okay, there is a way to set that up. Help. Okay, generate flags for an existing command. You must run this command from within a plugin directory, such as a directory created with SF dev generate plugin. Okay, so that's good. We're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what else does it
It
say?
will ask you which command you want to generate the flag for. This is helpful.
How about that? That sounds really attractive, like something I might want to do.
Mm.
Okay, so SF dev generate flag. And
So we wanted, if I do that, I don't know if that helps, but we want, so we've got a name already, and there gives us a name by default. So we want a description.
oh, cool. It actually has a little selector.
Yeah,
So we'll do
we
that
can
one.
add selectors and things in some of these feedback mechanisms.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like I'm sure there's a flag I could have used to like specify some of this stuff, but all right. So this is going to be, what are we doing? Which flag are we doing?
We'll do description.
Description. So this will be a custom flag with custom TypeScript type. No. Directory duration file. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
String.
there you
There
go.
we go. I was like, where's the thing for like some characters? I just had to keep scrolling down. Any valid string. Sound good?
That sounds perfect to me.
And one of the things I've found, like using some of these, like like the required org one and the required, like some of these do a lot of blocking and tackling for you when you select them. And so, like
Okay.
if you have one that's like the name of an org, if you want to actually connect to that org, you want to use the flag as opposed to the sort of any string one.
Mm,
It's
okay.
pretty cool actually, some of the work that they've done to like scaffold this. Okay, so string description. Yeah, that's what we're calling it.
Yep.
And short summary. Is
Mm-hmm.
that's because we already have name, right? So this
Yeah.
one's gonna be, oh, I'm gonna do like
Yeah.
they did, a robust description of this permission set. Remember, this is for posterity.
Permission says 2 words.
Oh, oh, interesting. It's not letting me go back.
It's all right. We can change it later on. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just going to be some code. So
All summaries must start with a capital letter and end with a period. I think because you've just.
I did it too long.
No, I think it's because you where you just moved your cursor. It might have done that. Try hitting enter again.
It's not letting
All
me.
right. Shall I quit? Shall I kill the command and then we can do it again?
I probably can do that. There we go.
All right.
Okay, so we'll do this a lot faster. That one, string.
While you're doing that, one of the things that I've just noticed you can do is you can have a directory requirement as well, which we're going to probably want to have to know where to put our permission set. We
D.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
that's not overloaded with something else, is it? Are there any
No,
global flags that use D?
not that I know of. I
Oh,
mean, it
let's just
says
go.
that
I'll
it
just
gives
do
us
it.
just the 10 year.
Required. I'm gonna say no because it's not
No, it's
actually
not. Yeah.
required in creating a permission set. And even though we should be adding descriptions, I'm just gonna go with that for now. No, not
1 minute. Ooh.
hmm,
D is actually normally for directory.
is it? And we're
Apparently,
gonna
well,
use directory,
the
aren't we?
core, yeah, the core Salesforce CLI commands use these flag naming patterns: I for ID, F for file, D for directory, and N for name. So it could be like S for summary.
All
Maybe.
right, we're trying again. Oh,
I mean, yeah, we're getting there.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe
So,
we could. It needs. I mean, I suppose the question is, do we need to provide a single letter?
so what are we going to do? What are some letters in the word description that could be allowed for our single character one?
Well, yeah. Uh, I mean, we don't have to provide a single character one.
Oh, come on. What's the fun in that?
Yeah, and
Is
I'm just trying to
C taken?
say again.
Is C one of the global ones?
No, no, literally the four naming patterns they have are HV double dash JSON IFD and end. So yeah,
So
let's go for
C works. I'm going to do
yeah.
C.
C works.
Okay. No. No.
No.
The multiple times one is one that I didn't realize existed, but there's
All description elements.
oh, it didn't
No.
like that.
Has it run it though? Even though it didn't like it, it
Oh
might have
shoot.
actually.
Okay, I went and added that. So let me comment that out.
Oh, did you add it
That's
to the top?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my bad.
It's also got the letter F on there, which obviously really helps.
Okay, one more time. You know, through repetition, we learn.
Yes. Just going to do this. Oh, it's still not removed, Pete, from the.
Oh, what
Second.
the hell?
I
Well,
think
that's
it
fine.
was
Go ahead
going
and
to.
do that. I'll just
Yeah,
keep
I've
on
done that.
going.
Don't worry.
It shouldn't matter, I would think, until it actually goes and tries to. I should have just like, okay.
So while Pete's doing this, thank you everyone who's watching along. Hope you're enjoying watching Pete and I swear and repeat the same command 5 or 6 times. But yeah, thank you for joining. Let us know where you're watching from, where you're joining the stream from, where you're dialing in from if you are happy with that.
It still didn't like that.
What
Description.
is?
An object literal
You know,
cannot
it's
have
1 minute.
meaning.
It's because it had actually added it, Pete. It's just in there twice.
Oh.
So it had worked. If I just
Oh, it
say
just
now,
didn't
there you go.
compile.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just being stupid.
All right.
Right, cool. That's cool. The message does not exist in the messages file. And let me go to the messages. Where's the messages file?
So that's up here.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah. Flags. It's because it's got 2. Cool. Right. I think if I do that and I save that, then it will figure that.
Right.
Flags
And
for
messages is
description.
where we would go to actually do, like, if you do help, then it
Yeah.
right. And so somewhere in the life cycle of creating this, unless you have actually added a real message somewhere, I think it either doesn't let you do your commit, or it doesn't let you merge or something like that. Like I ran into that. No, not merge. It might have been on push, but one way or the other, I found that you need to complete that at least
Yeah.
in some cursory way before you actually uh, commit that.
So should we do our next one? Should we power through some of these? Should we
Yeah.
try for our label next? So we have a
Okay.
name. Now we could just before we dive in,
Mhm.
either do a thing where and this is something perhaps for later, we could offer the option where you enter the label and we take the label and just put underscores, like lowercase and underscore it for the name.
Right. Right. Right.
But as we have a name flag, I feel we provide a
Yeah.
label flag as well and deal with that logic later on. So
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that is the way that kind of the UI does it.
mm,
And so I like that approach, but I also like unless we're building it so that it just goes in and it um unless it like you provide a label and then it prompts you like are you happy with this developer name?
I think these are nice syntactical sugar pieces we can add
Right.
later on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
I think we give it an option for the good people who will provide both.
All right. So again, create permission set. Again, this is a text, so we'll call it string. This is label.
Yep,
Short description.
a
The
robust label now.
label. Uh,
Looks good.
is L one of our
L is not reserved.
L's allowed? Yay! Yes. On the required.
Well, if you put it as required, yeah, I mean, put it as required for now because we later on, if we have that kind of feedback loop,
Syntactic sugar type of thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, no.
No.
Hey, so it didn't error
Okay.
this time because I've not got it. I think us both having it open caused it to
Oh, do you
lose
think
its
that might have
mind.
had a problem? Okay.
Yes.
Um,
So we got two more, I think. One of which
okay.
is has activation required, which is a boolean.
Boolean.
Yeah, and so
What's
I
it
would
called?
call so it has activation required, which is camel case. So I would put it as um, snake case,
Kebab case?
kebab case, probably. Yeah, it's the
What's snake case? I can't remember. Is that with underscores?
snake cases with underscores. Yes,
Okay. Has activation required. Yeah, is that good?
that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. And this is remind me. So what's the description I put here?
Whether or not if I just jump back over 1 second, I can show you this in the UI. This is probably more
Yeah, because I'm trying
useful.
to like I'm drawing a bit of a blank on this.
Whether or not
Oh,
I think it's a high security session.
right.
Yeah, apply this permission only when the user meets
And
session
then
criteria, specified criteria.
right. Okay.
Yeah. Does it give us
So
better?
requires um high security
Apply the
session.
permission set. I mean, do you want the Salesforce help text?
Oh,
I mean, that just seems a
what does it
possibly.
say?
Uh, I'll just post it in the private chat 1 sec.
Only meets the specified criteria. That's a little bit vague, even. Apply the permission set.
Yeah, because I don't know for definite it's a high security session.
Right. Yeah, I'm only marginally satisfied with that description, but that's fine. I'll put it from that and we can always go back and change it.
We can. Boom. Look at that. And
A?
so, yeah.
A works?
It does.
No.
No, but no, we do require a value, but we will default it to false,
Right.
which is kind of the standard.
Right. And Boolean, if it's a required value, it's like,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, it just seems daft.
All right.
Cool. All right, and then the
And
last
one
one we
last
have
one.
is so this one we might want to follow the standard Salesforce pattern. So this is for our directory. So we want, obviously, because it's a we want to know where to put this permission set for someone who wants to deploy it. So we have a couple of options. We could either just do, so it's -d is the shortcode. Salesforce normally uses --output-dir for the directory. So I say we go for that as well.
Oh, output directory?
Yeah, output. Yeah, --out. So the
output dir. Right.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you know
And
what I'm trying to say.
so this is a local directory path. You can specify whether the directory must already exist. Okay.
And we probably want it. We don't need it to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm going to select the directory type.
Yep.
Because that's again going to give us some extra. It'll make us have to do less work, basically. Okay,
Yeah.
and so this is, what was it again? Begin with the no.
Output-dir. Yep.
Right. And there must be some standard like description that comes with this normally.
Probably, but I think we write a robust output director. Just put I don't know, go for the name of the location of the output directory to put the permissions to put the generated metadata in. I mean, this is one of the interesting things I think that we're going to find with our to put meat in.
I do that all the time. I end up with meat
Um,
data like I swear every day, at least once a day. So
one of the interesting things I'm thinking is, when we do our generate app, like we're just going to have to presume that it's using a standard structure, because otherwise we're going to have them like recommend a bunch of directories different. So anyway, to put
okay,
metadata in.
so that's good.
All summaries must start with you've got a space at the end after the dot.
Oh, bastards. Oh, okay. It allowed me to correct it. Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, that's picky. It's called trim, folks.
I know, it's so that is the definition of anal, isn't it? Really, there.
For goodness sake, help me!
Help me help you guys. Go on. So /D or D.
Oh, D.
For
that's the standard one, right? Okay.
Yeah, and then
no.
No,
Right?
we will default.
Because we'll default it to force app if we.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No and no.
Boom.
Does it require the file or directory to exist? I would say yes. Wouldn't it?
Yes. Well, actually, so permission set is not a directory that exists in your initial when you create a new project.
Right. So we're going to need to do some bits that say if exists, then put it there. Otherwise, create permission set.
Well, I'm wondering if this is going to do some of that for us. I mean, let's try it. Let's go for no anyway, because I think we want to.
Right.
Cool.
All right. So we should see what it did.
Yeah. So if we go into here, you can now see the updated. So we now have our different flags. Notice that it's put the ones where it's got multiple names in or multiple words in the kebab case. So we have output directory activation required, etc., etc., etc. Note that it just says hello name still, doesn't actually do anything with any of the interesting stuff we've added. But it does, if we go up here, have our nice new pieces in here for our summary. So we can add in our examples as we wish. as well. So we have the summaries. We can also add descriptions as well. So we can add more information for the description as we want to. So we have a nice basic permission set detail.
That's really weird. My local file on the live share has not updated for some reason.
I've just saved it, so I wonder if that's why.
No. What's it doing?
It's probably doing all of the build now. So we have 10 minutes left, so I think this is a good point for us to kind of plan what we're going to do go forward. So what we've got to in this session is now actually having a basic command written that will take in some parameters. One of the things I'm going to do in the background after this is remove the hello command, because I think we just don't need that. I'm also going to go in and I'll add in some useful information here for our, which is interesting because we have our descriptions. I'll add in some summaries. We'll have some summaries. I'll add in fuller descriptions as well as to what some of these things are going to be. And I'll move some of this around. So we'll have that ready. And I'll try and get rid of this commit lint nonsense as well. See if we can make that easier for us, or at least figure out. Do you know what? If we at least figure out how it works, that might be better. Doesn't have to go. It just doesn't have to be as confusing as it is. Because so we will do that. Async what? Like some of these are just mad. I'm just looking at the commitment documentation now. Anyway, this is not helpful. Paul, stop doing it. So we'll deal with that, and then I think what I'd like to do is I'll have a play with the XML library as well. I think if we can get to the point ready for the next episode where we are able to take in that data and produce a file out for us, I think that will be a cool little thing to do. And then we can start to test actually generating a permission set out there. So I think, and once we've got the first one done, I think then it's a bit more simple for you and I to say, okay, great, what's needed for all these bits and pieces, and we can start to generate multiple different commands and things in there. Yeah, we can even have sessions where perhaps one of the things I'm thinking might be interesting is one of us, we could work concurrently on two commands at the same time, just in different branches, and then push them up there, and you and I can spend some time talking through. So one of us drives whilst the other one just codes a bit more quickly on it or whatever.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for coming along and joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it as ever. So hopefully in 2 weeks' time we can have some more interesting and exciting bits and pieces to come on.
Yeah, should be good. I'm excited. And enjoy has the weather been up pretty good up there by you as well?
Yeah, it's been quite nice, and I mean today it's not as sunny, but the past few days it's been very nice and sunny. So yeah, I'm hoping it's tomorrow is oddly enough my birthday, so I think I'm hoping for a nice warm weekend to not do any, like most weekends I'm really dull and spend it kind of doing some sort of work, because you know what it's like, you work for yourself, there's always stuff that you can do. So I'm making a point this weekend of not doing anything.
Excellent. Cool. Well, have a good relaxing weekend, and we'll catch up in a couple weeks' time.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you very much, Pete. Thank you very much, everyone else, for joining us. Remember to subscribe to stay up to date with any of the latest videos as well. And also you can see all of our previous episodes under the live tab. We can see how we've gone away and built up some of the stuff beforehand. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
See ya. Bye.